profitable zone to losses, and losses are the one reason why the companies start focusing on malpractices. So we feel that this is connected to the theme of the this event, that financial crime, how we can avoid financial crime, how we can protect organization from wrong things. So I felt that these are connected. And yes, next slide. I think this is the last slide. So you can find this survey on our website, and we are more than happy that any organization want to do the assessment through our tool. We will do that assessment, and we can give a clear feedback that in which category they are falling, and how they can improve themselves and be ready for the innovation which is happening in the near future.
Thank you very much, Lokesh, for that very enlightening presentation. I think very useful to many of the attendees here and a lot of their companies in terms of how to adapt to rapid regulatory changes and environment and whatnot. So very interesting. Is Dr. Femi Mosako Johnson here so we can follow through with the final presentation? If not, if he's not here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the floor for questions. You can basically ask any questions you might have of Dr. Lishova, of Lokesh, or of Moraquinho. I know Jerry Wong had to run out, but if you have any questions for the three keynote speakers who are here at this moment, then feel free to ask your questions. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer and cover all the questions that you might have following their presentations. Also, I know a lot of people have been asking in the chat for the PowerPoints. I'm sure that the team at the GRC and Crime Prevention Mid-Year Summit will make those available to anyone who wants them. So feel free to email them, and I'm sure they will be able to provide you with the PowerPoint slides. So, Dr. Femi Mosako Johnson, I don't see his name listed among the participants. I'm assuming he's actually here now. I see him under the attendees. Could someone possibly make him a speaker so that we can have him present? I see him under Dr. Femi Mosako Johnson. I think he should be available now. Let me see. Dr. Femi Mosaku, can you hear us? Can someone...
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Okay, how are you?
Yes, fine, thank you. Yes.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes. I'm here. Yes. I'll just...
Perfect.
Briefly, if my slide can be jetted,
yes.
I'll just speak briefly on the governance aspects of what we have been talking about.
Perfect. So please, give us a very quick introduction as to who you are, what's your expertise, and what are your interests in these areas, and then basically the stage is yours, and you can present. So thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yes, Femi Mosako Johnson is my name. I'm one of the corporate governance champions in Nigeria. I led training department at the Nigerian Institute of Management, then later the Institute of Directors. Where I pioneered directors development, building Institute of Directors world class. Later, I founded what is called Association of Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria. Running today, and it's all over the country. In brevity, that is who I am. That's who I am in brevity, a corporate governance champion and one of the leaders of corporate governance. Yes, I want to bring out governance aspect we are talking about. What is corporate governance itself? This is the formal system of oversight, accountability, and control for organizations, decision, and resources. The pillars of corporate governance, I don't know if it can be, my slide can just be shown just for brief minutes I have here. Yes, okay. Very well. So on the third page, I'm on the third page now. That's I'm looking at the pillars of corporate governance, which is accountability, fairness, transparency, and independence. This is very, very important. You will see that globally there is the problem of accountability. And that's why we have fraudulent practices all over the place. There's problem of fairness, which we have all over the place, and there's problem of transparency. Plain and clear transparency has been a major problem globally, and this is a problem. And of course, we talked about the issue of independence. Up to today, in many parts of the world, there is no independence of judiciary. There's no independence of the police system and electoral system. So this is a very, very big problem. So let's go to the next slide. And we are talking about the fact that ethical principle must be supported by law. We have code of corporate governance in Nigeria and elsewhere. But the problem is that this code hasn't been supported by law. We have a situation where the law, the code can back, but it cannot bite. And that's the problem. Please, can I get this, the next slide, please? Next slide. So, yes, next slide, please. So we are saying that the ethical principle of governance must be supported by law. Up to now, the code is still not supported by law across the regions of the world. And that is the problem. And that is why we are corporate government about honesty and transparency, responsibility and accountability, and so on. And we put all of them together and we call it FART. F-A-R-T. Fairness, ability, responsibility, and transparency. See, please, can we have the slide go down? Yes. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Yes, we believe that it is better to fail with honor than to succeed with fraud.
Hello?
And that's what we have all over the place. Many don't care. They don't bother to succeed with fraud. So, to that extent, I'm encouraging every one of us to stand up for what is right.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter
whose cause is God.
I'll send it now. It doesn't matter who is there and who is not there. Yeah. Even if you are standing alone. Today now, we have seen that it is very, very difficult to stand alone, to stand out from the crowd. When I joined the Institute of Management, I was told that I needed to bribe for me to get contract, for me to succeed in that department. But I said no. What I will simply do is that I'm going to work 10 times harder. The 5 years I spent at Nigerian Institute of Management, I was the best staff of the year throughout, and I never have to bribe anybody. So to stand out, I know it is very, very difficult. To join the crowd of fraudulent people, to join the crowd of people that are not honest is very simple. But to stand out, it's a very, very difficult game. And I know people that want to stand out, they face a lot of difficulties. Prison yard, if you go there, you have to bribe people. Online to collect birth certificate, you have to bribe people. But when you stand out, they will delay you. They will abuse you. But at the end of the day, your conscience will be clear that you are doing the right thing. So what we want from people today is to basically be able to do the right thing. So let's go to the next slide before I start to ramp up this. Yes. Can we go to the next slide, please? So I'm saying that it is better that you fail. It's better that you fail than that you succeed while doing fraudulent things. So many things have gone wrong in the past. What are those things that went wrong? Loss of moral fiber of corporations. Globally, from east to west, from south to north. Business environment characterized by need to compete with new economy. You have boards that are not properly constituted. As a matter of fact, you have a board that is not basically diverse oriented. You have some board, very prominent organizations, global organization. In fact, there's a particular board, one of the biggest brands in the whole world. You have all the whites in the board, and all of them are male. whites, everybody in the board, and all of them are male. These are the things that we do not support in corporate governance environment. There has to be variety. There has to be diversity in every board. And these are some of the things that we are actually observing. So let's move forward. What is the future? What is the future? Greater emphasis on leadership by example. Next slide. Greater emphasis on leadership by example. Boards are returning to basic value system. Value system all over the place, diversity, and both are redefining value creation, not merely to increase the price, not merely to make so much profit at the expense of sustainability, at the expense of integrity, at the expense of diversity. So profit is good. That is when it is done with integrity. So this is very, very pivotal in the annals of our business world. Now, in rounding up, what is the benefit? I'm trying to round up now. This is the final slide. Benefit of an effective corporate governance. When you put corporate governance in place, in fact, in most jurisdictions, we have corporate governance, but they are not basically being exemplified. They are not basically being practiced. The practical aspect of it is lacking. So what are the benefits of an effective corporate governance? You have public confidence is assured. Globally, public confidence is assured. Everybody that is investing know that their investment is not going. Then you enhance the profitability of the organization, because many organizations, of course, you attract foreign investment fund and so on. So you are profitable in your organization. Then microeconomic stability itself is assured. You are assured of microeconomic stability. Then accountability is established. This is lacking in most places. In fact, in most cases that they are accountability, you find that they are not basically carrying out the tenets of accountability. Then attraction of foreign investors also come into being when you are entrenching corporate governance in your organization. Then improve share prices, improves competitive advantage. So everybody comes to the forefront of competition, and everybody competes fairly and squarely, which is very, very important. Then development of local capital markets. So this goes a long way. When we actually put our acts together, our local capital market is enhanced and is improved and so on. Industry do well, manufacturing do well. Most of the services environment actually performs well. Then reduction of poverty, because of corruption hurts citizens, corrupt everybody. Anywhere there is one corruption, two on.
I think we lost you, Dr. Femi. We can't hear you now. Seems like we're having some connectivity issues, so we'll give him a few minutes. There you are. Seems like the connection is not good. We can't hear you, Dr. Femi. Can you hear us? Seems like we lost him. Not sure if he'll be able to log back on. Until he returns, if he returns, just please, all of you, keep in mind, if you have any questions for any of our speakers who are around, please drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure to cover those in the very short panel session, which will happen right after this. If there are no questions, we'll proceed with the remainder of the event so that we can wrap up promptly at 2 p.m. UK time.
No, 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 no.
Seems we lost him, unfortunately. He's very passionate about corporate governance, so it was a very enlightening presentation. In any case, do we have any questions? Do we have any questions for any of our panelists? If not, we have a few videos that are going to be shown and some interactive polls. And then we'll have some closing remarks by Esos Habalogun, the General Manager of the Risk Management MTN Nigeria Communication PLC. So if there are no questions for the panel discussion and everything was crystal clear and everyone is happy with everything that has been said and there are no sort of questions or comments, etc., then I will open up the floor to the GRC and Fin Crime Prevention Summit team to basically present a few videos on the AGRC partnership, on the media partners, and also the polls. So if that's the case, the floor is theirs, and I'll be right back to introduce one final time the person giving the closing remarks to this event. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Please, let's go ahead and answer the questions on the poll. Just selecting out the questions and click next.
Okay, perfect. So post the questions and we'll proceed with the poll.
Please, can you confirm if you can see the questions now?
For some reason, it seems that I don't have access to it. Same issue I had before. I see the question, but I don't have access to the actual app. Very strange. So I see the poll. The poll is there. It says the bot is disabled for some reason. That's what one of the attendees is saying. Yeah, that's the same I'm seeing. The poll is not accessible. Same applies with the second question that was just added. If people reading the questions, if you want to just we can do it the old-fashioned way, and you can submit some of the answers in the chat so that they're recorded in the chat. That'd be great, and then basically the team can register your answers and compile a little bit of data from those people who are in attendance. So feel free to just answer some of these questions on the chat. The first question is, what cybersecurity measures are currently in place at your organization? It says select all that apply, but we don't have access to those. But just if you want to list a few. And the second one, you can do 1, 2. The second one is, what improvements would you like to see in your organization's governance and data security practices? So if you want to just add a 1 for the first question, a 2 for the second question, and just drop some answers, that'd be great. And again, if you have any questions that you'd like to answer, you'd like to ask any of our panelists, feel free to drop those questions in the chat too, and we can engage them a little bit more in discussion. Give it a few minutes, and otherwise we can move on with. I'm not sure if there's going to be a few videos that are going to be shown. Otherwise, we can go ahead with our closing remarks. For example, in this case, the instance poll, we actually get to submit votes.
Okay, I think we're going to post the full question on the chat. Please, I think I have an issue with the poll.
Yeah, no. Another option, Michael, if it's going to be easier, is we create basically a survey on SurveyMonkey or one of these apps, and basically you can email all of us, everyone who was in attendance, everyone who has been here for the event, and we can basically do it via email to collect some of this information and get people's feedback, if that's easier. Because we do have 55 people here now, and I think throughout the event we've had maybe 65 people attending. So it might be best if create a survey and just email it to all of us, and then basically we can gather a lot of feedback in that way.
Okay.
There is a question here that I'm going to throw out there. I think this would be for, this one might be for, I would say, Moraquinho, if you're around. But the question is, can there be a unified trusted global identity management database in the near future? Or, I mean, I'll open up to the floor. Anyone have any opinions on this? Maybe Moraquinho, you can tackle that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can take this.
Go for it.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to answer that. Okay, so what I see from my experience and the work I've done in the past is that is most likely going to be national identity management databases with the provision for data exchange on a global scale. Did you get that?
Yep, I think that's pretty clear.
Okay, so that's likely to be the structure that's going to be viable, because no country will want to hand over its national identity to another. So what you will have would be a national identity management system that's trusted by other national entities, and that allows for information interchange, that allows for information exchange between each of those identities. Okay, so it's only when it's required that one national identity database system will interact with another, and there will be well-defined policies that guide the exchange between the national identity management systems. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. That makes perfect sense. I mean, yeah, given the privacy issues and sovereignty issues and whatnot, it makes perfect sense. So the questions have been added. I mean, if you want to take a look at them, it might be a little complicated to handle this way. Again, I think it'd be more effective at the end of the day if we got this as a survey. But take a look at the questions, and if you have any sort of strong opinions as to any of these, then make sure to have your voice heard and just drop an answer there. I'll give a few minutes to take a look at these. Then we'll have a short video, and then I will proceed. We'll proceed with the closing remarks.
Hmm?
Is it okay like this? I don't know why that thing is not showing.
I think we have a question in the chat.
Yes, I guess this question is also for Moraquinho. I mean, this is something that I think has been covered to a certain extent, but let's say a very sort of quick, I guess, explanation as to what is cybersecurity, what does it do? Moraquinho, do you want to give us some definitions or just general explanation as to the nature of cybersecurity?
Yes, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you again. Okay, so what exactly does cybersecurity do? So cybersecurity provides security in cyberspace in order to preserve confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the cyber systems or cyber interactions. Okay, so without going into technical details, that's what it does. Okay, so there are three things that are critical elements: confidentiality of data, integrity of data, and integrity of transactions as well, and the availability of the underlying system that's used to enable the interaction or the exchange of data. Cybersecurity basically ensures that it is preserved. All of those things are preserved from attacks and malicious actors. That's what cybersecurity does. Thank you.
Perfect. Excellent. Hope that was clear to the person who asked that question. And otherwise, I don't know, Michael, if there's going to be a video shown or if we are going to proceed with the closing remarks.
No, we have a
so we'll have a video and then.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, after the question, we have a panel section. So maybe you should call the panelists to take over from the. Yeah, we have some panel speakers here, so they know what to do. So, yeah, after the question.
Okay, so we have some panel speakers who are going to discuss.
Yes.
Okay. The panel speakers, can you please turn on your cameras and your mics so that we can, engage in discussion, I guess? We have our speakers here. Moraquinho, Lokic is here. Who else are the panel speakers, Michael?
There is Eneka, there is Stephanie also, there is Lokash and Moraquinho.
Yep. Eneka, if you wanna turn on your camera and the microphone. I mean, the first question I would like to ask basically is, since we have a couple panelists who haven't had a chance to speak or who haven't presented, to basically just get their reactions on the presentations, get their sort of feedback on the presentations, and if they want to sort of provide any additional comments on what has been said throughout these sessions. So NECA or anyone else, any sort of feedback?
Hi,
Hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. From my point of feedback, I believe that the panel, the speakers have been very passionate about governance, risk, and compliance. I think that they have handled the sessions very well. I mean, we all know that governance, risk, and compliance is a key requirement or element in running an effective organization. And while some organizations focus a lot on products, a lot on services, we know that all of these things eventually will require the right structures in place, the right, I think one of the speakers was talking about the elements of a good corporate governance, mentioned accountability, mentioned transparency, and all of those things. Eventually, every organization requires those things to go the long haul. If you just want to be successful for a short while, then you can do things anyhow. But if you want to go for the long haul, you definitely need to make sure that you have the right structures, the right processes, the right governance body, right? Someone mentioned about making sure that you have the right diversity. You have, in fact, it's a key requirement when you're trying to determine who your board is. You want to make sure that you have people that are able to guide you based on their experience. You want to make sure that you have people that have the right independence, that would put the company first. All of these things are key for your company to go the long haul. And I do think that our speakers have addressed this quite effectively in their talks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, NECA. We have several questions that have rolled in now, so I'm going to throw those out there for, we have 4 questions here. I'm going to open these up to the floor, basically, to our panelists, both our keynote speakers and other panelists who are here with us today. So the first question, just to get us started, is why is it so hard or difficult for banks to retrieve funds stolen by scammers whenever complaints are being made? Anyone wants to tackle that? Moraquinho, maybe? Or NECA?
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't get that. I missed it.
Why is it so hard or difficult for banks to retrieve funds stolen by scammers whenever complaints are being made?
That's a very interesting question. Okay, so there are regulations around it that do not permit quick action, basically. Okay, so that's probably one of the first things. So for instance, in Nigeria, for example, you've got to get a police report, you've got to get a court order, okay? Until you get those documents, the banks can't move, okay? If the banks can't move until you get those documents, you give the cyber criminals the opportunity to basically get away with what they've done. And by the time you get all of those things and you begin to trace, usually you find a situation where it's too late. That's on one side. On the other side is the issue of the onus of proof. Okay, so the bank has what it regards as its responsibility, and the customer also has a responsibility. So at a point where is the customers, let's make an assumption, credentials are breached because of the customer's carelessness. The bank will obviously not feel that it should bear the burden for that loss. Okay. Now, usually the challenge is in determining on a case per case basis who's responsible for the loss, whether it was due to a customer fault or it was due to the bank's fault. Usually, the customers are not sophisticated or equipped sufficiently to be able to prove that a breach or a loss was not their fault. And so more often than not, it falls on their lap to pick up the losses. Okay, so those are two of the most common reasons why people don't get to recover their funds in Nigeria, for example, and across most
I've
of
seen
the
MD charts.
emerging countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I want to add a bit more to what has just been said, I think a very important aspect is making sure that you follow the right processes. And there's a reason why the processes are there. If your funds have been stolen, you feel that the banks are wasting time, they should quickly just return your money and all of that. But imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and someone is accusing you of scamming them, because we have seen instances where a business deal goes wrong and one party wants to get their money back, they go to the bank and say they've been scammed. So you would understand that the banks cannot just take your word for it if you say you've been scammed. Follow the right processes, and eventually it may take a while, but hopefully you should be able to get some sort of redress. Again, I think cybersecurity is also a key function here. So making sure that you protect your credentials, really do not go online to log on to sites and give them your details. If someone has sent if someone has sent you a message on WhatsApp asking you to send money to them, things like that, be careful and make sure that you don't compromise your credentials, because at the end of the day, if you compromise your credentials, it will be difficult for the banks to take on that loss, right? So I think those are some of the areas that we also need to be mindful of.
ठीक है चलो वो MD था फंड का
Okay. Thank you, Nega. We have a question here now.
Okay, sorry, Martin.
We have a yes.
Yeah, please, if you have a question and you want to use the mic, just raise your hand. We can give you the floor to ask your questions. I'm talking about the attendees. If you have a question and you want to use the mic, just raise your hands.
Okay, that's fine. We have a question here for Lokesh. Lokesh, you there? It's on design thinking. Yes, it's on design thinking, and this is a question for you. What should government agencies govern and what should government agencies governed and regulated by law be preparing for in readiness for disruption?
So now innovation is an unstoppable energy. So innovation will happen and disruption will come. But now it is government's responsibility, like developing countries, including India, when the different companies from other countries, they enter the developing countries. These companies have lot of resources and they can change the market overnight. So it is government's responsibility that they protect their own industries. Otherwise, all the cash flow will be going out of the country, and like countries like you can say small countries like Sri Lanka now, they allowed lot of imports and their own industries has wiped out, and now they're in a crisis. So many European small countries, they allowed lot of different countries to do business with their own technologies, and those countries are into debt. So India has lot of regulations that if other companies from other countries, they should do a proper investment in India, start their own industry in India, give employment to Indian people, and then only they can start producing their products. So there should be very careful laws and regulations regarding innovation, because it takes decades to develop industries, clothing industry, tourism industry, even we can say consulting industry. So when innovation comes, like China, when if China tries to enter in any country, it is very difficult to survive because they have optimized the process, they have optimized the resources, they have very good workforce following processes, they have infrastructure. So nobody can survive that innovation when China comes into any country. So they should be very careful how new industries are coming into their country. And this is the responsibility of government, that how innovation enter the country. And if the weakness is not there, they will destroy their own economy. And it has happened in multiple countries.
That makes sense. Thank you, Lokesh. We have here another sort of follow-up question to the definition of cybersecurity. And this, Jerry mentioned a few of these earlier, and I know Moraquinho has discussed these too. But what are the most common types of cyber threats facing organizations today, and what can we do? What can be done about it? I mean, we could spend an entire semester in a university covering this question. But I mean, Moraquinho or Neka, if you want to provide us with a quick sort of overview, main cybersecurity threats, and what should be done to prevent these.
Should I go ahead?
Go ahead, sure.
Okay, so ransomware, phishing, social engineering, malware, those are the most common ones that anyone needs to take care of. So the most fearful one right now, obviously, is ransomware, because no one has been able to stop it, and it continues to, create victims out of all manner of organizations, whether small or large. So those are the most common cyber attacks that I would mention. But as it's wide, really. It's something that you've got. I would advise, if you're interested in this, it's something you need to go and read up yourself. There are different types of attacks. They cover different things. But the top ones you will always find out will be ransomware, phishing, and social engineering and malware.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Hope that covered that for the person who submitted that question. We have a question for Professor Anna Lishova, and this is basically regarding the tool. So how can you use the tool you explained on developing countries and different sectors? Basically, the applicability of the tool that you developed and the different sort of models, etc. Any comment there, Professor Lishova?
Yes, thank you for the question. Mm-hmm. Well, in general, it may be said that such tools may be applied for different sectors, not depending on the industry. In order to make more interesting such tools, we may include some additional variables in order to identify the differences between sectors. But in general, I think that such instruments should be universal, because we are reaching the main task is to assess whether the company is going to be bankrupt and then has possible risks for making fraudulent transactions, fraudulent figures in financial reporting. That's why it is a good idea about including different factors specific and industry specific. But at this time, it is possible to apply our model for every company, not taking into account whether it is from which sector or which country, because we use general information reported in official financial statements. That's why it may be compared between different companies, different countries, especially if we're speaking about financial statements prepared under international financial reporting standards. In this case, we don't need any additional adjustments in order to obtain comparable initial data.
Okay. Thank you for that, Professor Lishova. We have one more question here. I think this is the last one that has been submitted that we can cover. How do we balance the need for robust cybersecurity measures with user convenience and productivity? And this is open to any of the speakers. Any comments there? Maybe from Moraquinho or from Neka. But so the question is, how do we balance the need for robust cybersecurity measures with user convenience and productivity? It's that traditional battle between compliance and the production team. Any comments there? How do you achieve that balance, and how do you actually, have both sides of the coin happy? I know Moraquinho mentioned it here. He had a quick quote or comment that basically it's a balancing act that every organization or professional must address. Yes, I mean, how do you achieve that balancing act? Any comments there?
I will try. Sorry.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so in large corporates, we ban literally block lot of email IDs, and if any website has been found that there are malwares or corrupt softwares available, those websites are blocked immediately. So this is one measure which is like global phenomena now, that there are a lot of sites blocked immediately. That is one measure. Second, regular training programs to the team members almost weekly, that how they should use internet and which websites to be used, not to be used, and basic etiquettes of emails. That is another training program for youngsters basically who are joining and who are new to technology. So these are few measures which corporates are taking, and very good latest uh, online safe security applications that has to be installed. And common cyber attacks are sending softwares over email, which when downloaded immediately corrupts your hard drive. That is most common threat what we are facing. Second, which we recently saw, uh, that happened with Microsoft Windows, that the whole security update, which was supposed to be a security update, corrupted the whole computer, or it crashed the operating system itself. So security updates should not be installed immediately. So most of the big corporates, at least in India, they have a delay time, that it will not be installed immediately. They will take 1 week to get the feedback on few computers. Not They are not allowed to access the whole infrastructure, IT infrastructure of the organization. This is one measure, that you should not do anything on the complete infrastructure. Then they have localized servers, two sets. One is backup and one is live. So they both are independent, and all the work happens on the first set, so that anything happens they switch to the backup, and then they work on the first set and try to retrieve what has happened. So these are the measures, and there is a serious problem of cyber security. Cyber attacks are happening almost every minute now. Your website, company website, is always on attack. If you have a good company, your website will be always on attack, and they will post lot of spams on your website if you have an open access to write any messages. So there are loop programs available, that they will continuously send messages on your own website if you have an open access for writing messages. So these loop programs are also very dangerous. So these are few inputs from my side, what I have seen in major corporates and how they try to safeguard their IT infrastructure.
Nerka, you had a comment too yourself?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, trying to balance the robust cybersecurity measures with convenience. And I think my first response to that been, if you find the answer, please let me know. Right? It's something, it's a struggle always, right? But if I want to address this, I would say simplify the process, right? It's not a race to see who can have the most strict cybersecurity measures. If you can, if there are instances where you can simplify the process, then please do simplify the process. You shouldn't have your systems in such a way that it unnecessarily frustrates your customers, right? That's not the intention. What you're trying to do is to protect them and not to frustrate them. I think it was Lokesh, as he was just speaking, he talks about awareness training. A lot of times when people are frustrated, it's because they don't know why you're doing what you're doing, right? And so if you're able to have this, the right level of training for your staff, so that they are able to implement your processes in the right way, and then also for your customers, so they understand that the reason why you're doing what you're doing is to protect them, not to frustrate them. That would go a long way in balancing this whole thing. The second thing I wanted to say is make sure you assess your risk, right? You don't have to implement the same level of security measures for every kind of risk that you have. So if If it's something that is not too much of a big risk issue, is a low risk, or so, you don't have to implement like 4 levels of control for that kind of issue, right? So assess the risk, assess the right level of control that you need to implement, and then implement it accordingly. Again, communicate. Once people know what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's a lot of times easier for them to accept it. So I think those are some of the comments that I have.
Thank you, Nika. Anyone else? Otherwise, I think we've covered all of the questions that have been submitted. If there's no other questions, I think we can.
Yeah. So if I would just say something,
Jump in.
Yeah, I think Tech has done very well in addressing it. But I'll just add to that. It's really a risk management decision. Is neither here nor there. There will always be a trade-off. Okay? And it's up to every organization to determine what level of risk tolerance they have, what level of risk tolerance their customers have. So if somebody wants to do a transaction of ₦1 million, okay, what they are willing to go through in order to do that transaction may be more stringent than what they are willing to go through if you are doing a transaction of 10,000 naira. So again, it's not one size fits all. One must understand the general risk tolerance of his customers, and it's really about making risk management decisions. Really, it's not the cyber security or the product design. A risk management decision has to be made first, which will now translate to product design or cybersecurity measures. Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else? Any other questions or any other comments regarding this last question that we had? Otherwise, I think we can proceed with, I think there's going to be a short video and then the final closing remarks from Esosa Balogun, the General Manager of Risk Management, MTN Nigeria Communication. So Michael, I don't know if you want to proceed with the short video. There's a short GRC event video, and then we can move on with the closing remarks, considering that we're running a bit late.
Oh, there is no. Where is the GRC video? Yeah. Oh, damn.
Yes.
Is it GRC?
Yes.
Oh, can we proceed, please, Matthew?
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, since we're reached the end of the session, first of all, on behalf of AGRC, I'd like to thank the organizers for allowing me to moderate this very insightful and engaging session. Looking forward to the next one. I want to thank all of our keynote speakers too, who have presented, and all of our panelists too, for a very engaging discussion. To everyone attending, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we have, and be in touch with the Morgans Consortium to if you want to get the PowerPoint presentations or if you want to get in touch with any of the speakers. With that said, I'd like to invite Esosa Balogun. He's General Manager of Risk Management at MTN Nigeria Communication PLC, who's going to offer us with some closing remarks. Then I'll say goodbye and until next time. So Esosa, are you here? You're around?
Yes, I am. Hi,
Okay.
Matthew. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much to you, Matthew. Excellent coordination, as usual. Always a pleasure to have you on board, same as we had last year. What a packed session. For me, I think it would qualify for an executive education, benefiting from such wealth of experience and insights from, I would say, global leaders in their respective fields. All at no cost, I must emphasize, is truly laudable. I joined the session when Jerry Wong was speaking. And for me, a couple of things. The case study on Silicon Valley Bank was truly, truly insightful. The learnings from there, what went wrong, what could have been done better, I think are still truly relevant, even today. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Anna, for sharing with us the model on bankruptcy assessment. I saw that on the screen as well. Very useful insights and just shedding more light on how it can be leveraged in developing economies too was truly useful. For Morakinyo, when you threw out the question on the three leading economies and you said cybercrime is even bigger than the economy of Japan or India or Germany, depending on how you answer the question as what country was number three. I thought that was truly, truly eye-opening, considering that there have been even recent, arguably, cybercrime incidents that have more or less grounded key major organizations, major operations worldwide. So thank you for that. And the point you made around prioritizing digital trust and financial inclusion is truly even more relevant for us in Nigeria as of today. Lokesh, thank you. Insightful delivery on design thinking. We talked about the assessment tool for disruptive innovation. Thanks, and truly for that. For Dr. Femi, when you spoke about corporate governance and you kept on dwelling on leading with integrity, I think that is one of the things that cannot be overemphasized. You said it's better to fail than to succeed fraudulently. I know that can be a painful ask, and it's even more painful to implement, but that's the truth, and that's the spirit behind good corporate governance. And Nneka, I wasn't quite on board when you spoke earlier on. I believe you did, but when you shared about the need for care, especially around credentials compromise, I thought that was really spot on, and I think that we can't say that enough. Today, as cybercrime becomes more and more sophisticated, and its perpetrators continue to look for more creative ways to exploit users. So thank you for that. So a big thank you to all the keynote speakers, a big thank you to panelists, attendees as well for being here, sharing, learning, and asking questions that continuously enhances the body of knowledge. Thank you very much, Dr. Folusho, and the entire team at the Morgans. You keep outdoing yourself. Well done. So big thank you for the coordination, the execution, the delivery. And this is me on behalf of everyone, congratulating us all for a successful event, and wishing us a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezosa, for your kind words and all of your insights into what you thought of each presentation. With that said, I'd like to bring to a close the GRC and FinCrime Prevention Mid-Year Summit for 2024, Fortifying Corporate Integrity, Strategies for Navigating Conflict, Corruption, and Cybersecurity Challenges through Robust Governance and Data Security. So with that said, thank you, everyone. Thanks again for the opportunity for moderating this. Thank you to the keynote speakers. Thanks to the Morgan Consortium team for the organization and for bringing us all here together to discuss all these topics which are a passion of ours. So until next time, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lokesh. Thank you, Matteo. Thank you for all our speakers for a wonderful time. We will look at engaging you next time, hopefully.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Kelechi, ma, please take note of those that are dropping their emails. That ones that need